One way to really give some strong impetus to learning from work is to use your network. Now, I believe a lot of people confuse networking with not working. Having a cup of coffee, having a chat by telephone, wherever else, in person, whatever, and doing no more than having a chat about things without it being purposeful, without it being focused on why you're there and what you can do to help each other's development. That's not networking, that's just chatting. Networking is a purposeful activity. Networking against not working, remember it. So here are my thoughts, and you've probably read ahead of me on this already, and I'm deciding to go for a whole splurge rather than revealing technique. That just means fitting the buttons. Here are my thoughts on how to get the most from networking. So, number one, activity being led by clear needs best met by networking. Now, let's think about that, because there are certain ways in which we can develop. There are certain things we can do to develop our skills, abilities, knowledge, whatever, that is best met by networking. Not going on a course, not reading about things, not just thinking and pondering and reflecting. So networking has a purpose, and the whole point of networking is to be interactive, it's to be exploratory, it's to be active, and to be with people who you've targeted and you're making contact with an outcome in mind, not just the hope that it'll be useful. So networking should always be led by clear needs. Why that person or people? Why that particular forum or meeting? Why are you there? What do you hope to get from it? So then my second point is recognizing your network knows a lot you don't. The more experienced you become, and my experience now at the time of doing this extends to nearly 40 years in the learning business, the more experienced you become, the more active you are during however many years you do what you do, the more people you get to know. And the more you sometimes regret not maintaining contact. More about this later with people. But the key thing is that your network, however you define that, people you know, people you can call up, people you can have a purposeful developmental contact with, knows people you don't, knows sources that you don't, knows information that you don't. In other words, if you confine your future development only to yourself, only to your own thoughts, only to your own experiences, only to what you know, then you're losing out on what the people you've made contact with know that you don't, and that you can offer them. It's a reciprocal process. Third point, and I'm going through these quickly, knowing how best you network is important. I, for instance, personally feel I best network one-to-one. I like focused conversations with one other person. It allows me, without feeling it's impolite or improper or whatever, to focus on my needs, not one of a group of 9 people or a group of 30 people. And I can help that one person that I'm working with. Other people like small group interactions for its greater breadth, but also what goes with that is there's downtime, if you like. There's times when, however interested and empathetic you are, you wish it was more about you. So know what works best for you, one-to-one, small groups, forums, whatever. Fourth point is being selective and focused. Time is always tight. Any network contains people who are most useful to you about a particular issue at that time. And the more targeted, the more focused you are with whom you network, the more useful that time will be. You don't want to get in a situation and think, oh, I'm 3/4 an hour into this conversation, it hasn't got me where I wanted it to be. Time is tight. We've got to think carefully about how we use that time. So be selective and focused about with whom you network. Then my next point is being adventurous in your approaches. Don't lose opportunities. I've been known to approach some pretty notable people in my industry. They haven't all responded to me positively, but some have. And I think sometimes we are not sufficiently adventurous, not sufficiently confident in who we might approach. These days, people spray their email addresses around like crazy. It didn't used to be the case that people were so approachable or contactable. So I encourage whoever's listening to this or whoever's watching it to say, let's give that person a punt. They can only say no. Next point is give and take. Don't be too much of one over the other. It's never going to be the case that two people, for instance, if it's a two-person networking situation, are going to be of absolutely equal value to each other. There's never complete equilibrium in the giving, the taking, the value taken from any particular networking situation. Over a period of time, that actually might well balance, but not in any particular transactional basis. The key thing here is, though, is not to get a reputation as someone who only ever takes, doesn't give much. Because you'll find that you'll run out of people who want to talk to you. And equally, if you're a bit of a pushover, you're getting nothing from this. If all you're doing is giving, and you're not in front of the people who give you back, then you're probably not selecting your people or your networking opportunities that you could. My next point is making real efforts to maintain contact and value. Networking done well, networking that results in real value from the free, because it's unlikely that people will be charging you for this or you charging others. It's something which people give freely of their time only, which comes at a cost, of course. Networking that, however free it is, requires effort to maintain contact and value. So you don't just keep a network together without doing anything to make that happen. Emailing people, exchanging ideas, picking up the phone once in a while for something other than purposeful networking keeps that network alive. You don't want to be saying to somebody, hey, let's get together now and talk through this that's of real interest to me. If you haven't spoken to them for the last 4 years, they'll wonder who you were. So you do need to maintain a network in order to keep its value alive. And that leads me to my next point, not losing really useful connections. It's possible, if you don't maintain the network, that people who were once and may well be again of real value to you and you to them could be lost. And that's true of me. There's lots of times I look through my, well, it used to be filofaxy type thing, but I look through my email address calendar, whatever, and I think, oh, there's someone I haven't spoken to for 3 or 4 years now, and I think that time has passed. That isn't always the case, and I have been known, and I've done it recently, to say, hey, look, it's been too long since I was in touch with you, and I think that's down to me. Can we reconnect? Can we have regular contact? Because you were always of value to me, and I think I gave you something back too. So you don't lose people until you know them to be lost. So reconnecting with people in your network who might have become or were lost to you is an effort worth making. But again, do it purposefully. Don't just do it willy-nilly. Do it with the people you think there might be some mutual value. And the last thing I've said here is learning how best to use social media platforms of choice. I use LinkedIn a lot, and it's taken me a long time, probably 7 or 8 years, to get to the point of understanding it at least better than I used to. So if you're a Facebook person, if you're a LinkedIn person, whatever, get to know that media, get to know the best ways you can use that as a means of networking. And remember all the time that just because you're in conversation with people, whether it's by an actual conversation, an audio conversation, or for instance, by typing messages to each other, that isn't networking in itself. Networking should be a purposeful means by which we can get real value from those contacts. And of course, like I say, it's free. If you get networking right, it's a great way to learn from the workplace, because all it costs is time. So that's really as far as I wanted to go with this. That's where to find me. If you ever want to get in touch, that's how you do so. My podcast, The Learning Ear, learningear.org, is a Podbean podcast. And there's, as I put this together, 131 recordings, of which I have 76. There'll be more going up there soon. And my YouTube channel is where this will go, and you've probably found it there if you've gone there. If not, if you're just listening to it, it might be on the podcast. Either way, lots of ways to contact me. I hope that's of value to you, and stay tuned, because well, you could join my network. Contact me by all means. I'm always happy to hear from people.